Marsalek must just be grateful he's able to look his opponent in the eye. Last time at stateside, he needed half a step ladder to see Kelvin Davis, who was a completely different proposition. And he really couldn't get close to close the gap. And that was a difficult night for him. He was clipped by a right hand by O'Leary, right there for starters at the beginning of this one.
And you'll think O'Leary will want to start fast. Guy with 3 losses, but 2 of those by stoppage. So you think you want to try and go out there really quick, make a statement if you can.
He has had a few tough assignments, I think it's fair to say, Marsalek, isn't he? That was a difficult night stateside. Of course, that was on the Canelo Billy Joe Saunders bill over in Arlington, Texas. And he actually faced Florian Marco, didn't he? A couple of years ago. That one ended in a round. Another nice short right hand there from O'Leary, who started pretty brightly, Sonny.
Yeah, I feel like he's improving every time I've seen him. He was rumoured to fight one of my good friends, Levi Kinciona, so I've been watching him quite closely since then. That fight never happened, but he's coming on leaps and bounds, Pierce O'Leary, and that's credit to Al Smith, Eddie Lamb and the team down there. They've got a really buzzing stable at the moment, and Pierce is just one of many very talented lads coming through.
Well, I think you have to realise, he came into the pro game with a reputation of being a destroyer, and realised that everyone falls over when you hit them in the pro game. So you have to just adapt slightly and use those boxing skills, which he has. But that doesn't mean he hasn't got power. It doesn't mean he still can't punch. It just means that that he has to work on sometimes breaking fighters down before he goes for the finish.
But I think it means he's getting matched well, to be honest. When they're still there at the end of the 4 or 6 rounds, you're learning from it, and when you're looking good doing it, that's all you need to do. Everyone gets so caught up on you wanting these knockouts. But
something, because he's tried so hard so early to get the knockout, then it hasn't come, and then he's tired out and tensed up. So I think some of those fights that he could have got the stoppage, he would have relaxed a little bit and just worked his way into it rather than just go looking, gung-ho straight away, I'm going to destroy you.
But it's much better to learn that at these stages of your career.
Of course, but that's what these fights are for. That's why the people who don't really follow boxing can't understand why you're always boxing guys who with losing records. It's because you need to. It's such a dangerous sport. You need to learn your trade. Dare I say it, the safest way possible, I guess.
And finding his style, I think, is part of that as well for any sort of young prospects, particularly those coming across from the amateur game, where there might be slight nuances and changes in style anyway. And I think finding his style has been part of the early story of his career.
Yeah, well, Sonny, we already said it there in the press area with you guys just now. You guys and Spencer, that transition to the amateurs about the shorter rounds. Usually the guy with more energy wins the fight, so you have to adapt a little bit and change your style slightly, and they don't always fall over. So it's just learning your trade, and I think he's done that. And I think that Sonny's right. There's a massive improvement in his work.
What you've got to do is too much gap between there and there. So if you try
good start for O'Leary there as well. He landed a couple of right hands. A little bit of a standoff at the end of the round with Marsalek.
You see him load up and slightly pull his hand up, yeah? Good. Don't chuck the jab to the body, feint to the body, because he tries to top the top down.
And there you can see Al Smith with his back to us. Eddie Lamb leaning in through between the ropes as well. Stacks of experience between that partnership. And I think you've said it before, Barry, as well. Alan Smith's the kind of guy who will kind of guide and mentor a fighter as much as coach and train.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's a massively underrated trainer. He doesn't get enough credit. To be honest, when people talk about top trainers, he's never in that conversation, and he most certainly should be. And he teaches you the technical side. He's on about he wants the fighter to think, and when you think, that means you can adapt in the ring. If you don't want to use your brain ever, engage your brain, then you can never adapt when things don't go your own way.
And they've got a lot of young fighters down that gym. And one thing I do rate from that stable is that they're really good at sort of bringing the fighters through at the right time, especially they're dealing with a lot of young prospects. Yes. Too many times, we see it time and time again. A few knockouts, a few good performances early on against easy opposition, and then fighters are getting chucked in the deep end and they're not ready for it.
Yeah, sure. And another thing to note before we're having Alan Smith living is not every fight is the same. There's so many gyms that you can pick up. You can go. He trains with so and so. You can tell by the way he sets himself up and the way he throws his punches, but not with Alan Smith.
I'll tell you what, he's landed a few here, Barry. The right hand. There's been a couple of left hooks and uppercuts in there as well. I think he's got through with a couple of these, O'Leary. I think he's made an impact at the start of this round.
Yeah, but what's that to do with Alan Smith? Us bold people that stick together, as you well know.
I'd imagine. Oh, well, you'd be with Marsalek then, aren't you? Yeah. I'd imagine he's had some tasty rounds with Dennis McCann over the last couple of years as well, enough to keep anyone on their toes.
But is this an improvement from maybe his first few fights? Because he is more relaxed. He's still putting things, all weight and speed into the shots. So he's not loading up, but he's putting more exertion into the shots. But still, look at the movements, nice and relaxed. So he got that option to move away. Whereas before, he's putting so much into every punch that he's planting his feet. He couldn't go anywhere after he threw a shot.
He keeps the right hand cocked for a large majority of the time. He's ready to throw, powerful, and he is letting it go here. And he's changing the angle of attack, which I'm liking as well. It's not always going through the middle or coming up. It's going around the outside of the vision as well. So he's changing up a lot, and you can see why he's causing him nightmares here.
Yeah, you can just see a little change in the play from Marsalek as well now. He's very much more defensively minded in the final minute of this round.
And he's getting a reaction, Pierce O'Leary here. He's getting a reaction out of any movement he's making. And
oh my goodness me. Yeah, waved off immediately. Well, that was a huge left hand. Absolutely huge left hook. He spun into it just as Marsalek walked onto it, and there's immediate assistance for him because he is out. Well, my goodness me, you rarely see knockouts as spectacular as that one. That was explosive, and it was exactly the engineering of the space that Sonny had just been talking about, you know, moving round the target, and just as he did that, he exploded at the same time as Marsalek unfortunately opened himself up for the shot as well. He was the perfect storm, Barry.
Well, Marsalek's obviously he's leaning forward, so he's a little bit off balance, and Leary's leaning back with the shot as well, so he's taking that right shoulder back, so he gets the proper leverage on the left hook, and it was a horribly hard shot to take, especially with, you know, when you haven't got the balance on your feet.
it reminds you how brutal that a shot like that landing reminds you that the sport we're in, and the respect that the fighters need to get from every show, from the top of the right down to the bottom. Boxing is a very hard sport, and
absolutely, it should be a hard reminder to fans just how tough and demanding this sport is. And although sometimes from a distance it can seem boxing like an art form, can it? And we view it as artistic, but yeah, there are.
But sometimes, you know, I don't want to see too much because we want to see how these kids reacting, but how people from other industries are trying boxing out.
Well, there's a ripple of applause. I mean, we've got all the paramedics and the medical staff in front of us, so our view is slightly obscured as you are looking at Pierce O'Leary with his I suspect his back to what's going on, but very much his thoughts with the attentions of the medical staff. And they have got the stretcher out as a precaution, but I can see Marsalek raising his gloves to the medical staff, so it would appear that he is conscious and responding to everything that they're attending. You can just see his knee moving perhaps on that overhead shot as well, so it would appear that the signs are good. And he is getting, as ever at any British boxing ring these days, he's getting the very best of immediate medical attention on site. And they were the beauty of all of that in terms of how everything was dealt with. The referee waved that off immediately, and the medical staff were on the ringside and at the canvas within seconds.
And of course, a lot of this stuff they're doing now, you know, to keep them still, it's precaution. Yeah, of course, yeah. There's people be aware of that, and that's the beauty of the British Boxing Board. They're so on top of everything. don't take any risks, no risks at all. It's as dangerous in the sport as it is. If someone's hurt, do everything by the book, no movement, just get him to a safe space, make sure he's okay.
Yeah, and straight outside the ring, though, there'll be doctors straight onto you. They're, you know, examining you. He'll probably end up in the hospital tonight, probably overnight. I would say.
Sure, most definitely.
But
just making sure, making safe, getting all the checks. And imagine what's, you know, the last couple of minutes has been going through Pierce O'Leary's mind as well, because you would have had that jolt of adrenaline, landing one of the biggest shots of your career and perhaps one of the biggest performances, and then suddenly very much concern and appreciation for your opponent.
You're asking the wrong people here, to be honest, Alex, me and Sonny, but
I know, true. I've never knocked no one out, to be honest. But you can kind of see it you can see it in O'Leary's face. You can see that it's very subdued. That'll probably be very bittersweet. It's probably one of the best punches he's thrown. But
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to him. It doesn't matter to anyone right now. And again, it shows the beauty of fighters. It doesn't matter to O'Leary. He just wants that kid to be well and healthy. That's all he cares about.
That's your initial response, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Everyone here in here, do you know what I mean? It is. And you could tell what the class the way. You know, some fighters, they jump up, they get overexcited straight away. But I think Pierce O'Leary landing that shot, knew the shot he just landed.
Well, one of the things I've always loved and respected about boxing is the fact that it is so fiercely competitive, and yet the one thing that shines through before and but particularly after, between the boxers themselves, is the respect. But as soon as the fighting is done, the one thing that is first to come back is just absolute essential humanity. It's the first thing that comes back between any two fighters.
You get in that ring, and most boxers, I might be exempt actually, and you want to hurt a guy. You don't want to really hurt him. It's almost like a paradox, isn't it? You want to hurt, but you don't want to hurt him. You want to win, because you want to be the best you can be, but not to the cost of someone else's long-term health. And that's just the way it is.
I think a lot of fighters as well, especially professional fighters, you're fighting to survive. You're fighting for livelihood, your family. You know, this is a lot of fighters, their way out, their way to change their lives. And you go into that. That's where that hurt and wanting to hurt someone comes from, because you want to better your life. It's not personal in that instinct, but you can tell once things sort of brought into context a bit when the paramedics are getting in, and because us as boxers, we go for all our training camps, we get in the ring, we do fights against hard opposition, and this scene we're watching right now is the last thing in our mind, because if any of us was going into the ring with this being a realistic outcome, we probably wouldn't get in the ring. It's that confidence you need, and then
you hear the applause, and you can see the same from the gloved hands of Pierce O'Leary in that ring as well. And that's a show of respect for Jan Marsalek, who is on the stretcher as a precaution. As you say, he was responding to the medical staff and paramedics. And let's just hope that everything now is just purely precautionary, as it appears to be. His arms folded, was receiving oxygen as well, and he's communicating with his coach, who's over and talking to him as well. And they will take him out, and I suspect on to hospital just to be checked over and monitored. The very best of care has been afforded to Jan Marsalek. And what a shot it was, my goodness me. That's one that in due course I suspect will be replayed again and again. Well, let's hope that all's well, that ends well. And Pierce O'Leary, unfortunately, he's alone in the ring with his team and the referee. But he will get confirmation of the result and the performance now with Rob.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 2 minutes and 30 seconds of round number 2, our referee J.K. Patrick has dispensed of the count. Your winner by technical count out, Piers Big Bang O'Leary. Ladies and gentlemen, can we give a big round of applause and wish a speedy recovery to Jan Marsalek.